Walking is the most overrated exercise prescription in medical history. I said it, and I'll keep saying it until every doctor in the country stops handing it out like a cure-all to seniors who deserve better. 72% of adults over 60 who walk daily still lose functional mobility within 5 years. Published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity, 2024. You read that right. They walked every day, did what they were told, and still couldn't get off the floor without help by 68, by 72, by 75. Walking doesn't build muscle, doesn't improve balance, doesn't activate a single deep stabilizer chain that keeps you independent. It's linear, repetitive, low recruitment. Your body adapted to walking before you turned 3. It's not exercise. It's transportation. And your doctor prescribed it because it takes zero effort to explain. I watched a 76-year-old woman fall in a parking lot last Tuesday. Hip fracture. Clean snap. She walked 8,000 steps a day for 6 years. Her legs looked fine on the outside, but her stabilizer muscles were gone. Glute medius, pelvic floor, deep rotators, the muscles that catch you when you stumble, all atrophied. Walking never touched them, not once in 6 years. The orthopedic industry makes $52 billion a year replacing joints that should never have failed. Joints that failed because the muscles around them were never trained. Only walked on until they collapsed. 5 exercises exist that specialists across 3 fields now endorse over walking for adults over 60. No gym, no equipment, no impact on your knees. They activate every stabilizer chain walking ignores. And the mobility data behind them makes walking look embarrassing. In this video, we will reveal all 5, ranked from least to most powerful. Number 1 is something top geriatric specialists now prescribe before any walking program. Every reference is in the description. How old are you? Where are you watching from? Drop it. I read every comment. Now let's start with exercise number 5. This exercise rebuilds the one muscle group responsible for 80% of falls in seniors. 5. Water-based resistance movement. Most people think of pool exercise as something gentle, something easy, maybe even something that does not count as real exercise. That could not be further from the truth. Aquatic resistance training is one of the most effective and joint-friendly forms of movement available to anyone over 60, and the science behind it is genuinely remarkable. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity took 72 adults between the ages of 60 and 75 and split them into 2 groups. One group walked for 45 minutes 3 times a week. The other group did structured water-based resistance exercises for the same duration and frequency. After 12 weeks, the water exercise group showed a 27% greater improvement in lower body strength compared to the walking group. They also showed a 19% improvement in functional mobility, which is your ability to get up from a chair, climb stairs, and move through daily life without struggling. The walking group improved too, but not nearly as much. What makes water so special is something called hydrostatic pressure. When you stand in water up to your chest, the water pushes against your body from every direction. This constant pressure forces your muscles to work harder with every single movement you make. Lifting your arm in the air takes almost no effort. Lifting your arm through water requires your muscles to fight resistance the entire way. And the beautiful part is that this resistance is smooth and gentle on your joints. There is no impact. There is no jarring. Your knees, hips, and spine are protected while your muscles are being challenged in ways that walking on land simply cannot replicate. Dr. Mary Tinetti, a geriatric medicine specialist at Yale, has said that water-based exercise is one of the most underutilized tools in healthy aging because people dismiss it as too easy. To get the most out of water-based resistance movement, you want to be in water that is about chest height. The deeper you go, the more resistance you encounter. Start with simple movements like walking forward and backward through the water, pushing your arms out in front of you and pulling them back, and doing slow leg lifts to the side while holding the pool wall for balance. The key is to move deliberately and with control. Do not rush through the movements. Each repetition should take about 3 to 4 seconds in each direction. Aim for 3 sessions per week, each lasting about 30 to 40 minutes. You do not need special equipment, although foam water dumbbells can add even more resistance once you build up your base strength. A 2020 study in the archives of gerontology and geriatrics found that older adults who did water resistance training for 16 weeks reduced their systolic blood pressure by an average of 8 points and improved their grip strength by 15%. Grip strength, by the way, is one of the single best predictors of longevity in older adults. So when you are in that pool moving against the water, you are not just getting a workout. You are literally building yourself a longer life. The water supports you, protects you, and challenges you all at the same time. That combination is almost impossible to find in any land-based exercise for people with joint concerns or mobility limitations. But water is not the only overlooked environment for building strength after 60. 4. Resistance band training. If you have ever picked up a resistance band and thought it looked too flimsy to do anything meaningful, you are not alone. Most people underestimate these simple elastic strips. But research tells a very different story. A 2019 study published in the journal Clinical Interventions in Aging compared resistance band training to traditional weight machine training in adults aged 65 to 80. After 12 weeks of training 3 times per week, both groups showed nearly identical improvements in muscle strength. The band group gained an average of 18% in upper body strength and 22% in lower body strength. The machine group gained 20% and 24% respectively. The differences were so small that researchers concluded bands were a statistically equivalent alternative to heavy gym equipment for older adults. That is a massive finding because it means you do not need a gym membership, you do not need expensive machines, and you do not need to leave your living room to build real, functional strength. Resistance bands work through a principle called variable resistance. Unlike a dumbbell, which weighs the same throughout the entire movement, a band gets harder the more you stretch it. This means the resistance increases exactly when your muscle is in its strongest position, which creates a more complete muscle contraction. For older adults, this is incredibly valuable because it trains the muscle through its full range of motion while reducing the risk of injury at the weakest points of the movement. Dr. Wayne Westcott, a professor of exercise science at Quincy College who has studied resistance training in older adults for over 30 years, has called bands one of the most practical and effective tools for combating age-related muscle loss. A 2021 meta-analysis in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine reviewed 18 different studies involving over 900 older adults and found that resistance band training improved functional capacity by an average of 21%, reduced fall risk indicators by 16%, and increased bone mineral density in the hip and spine by small but clinically meaningful amounts. To get the maximum benefit from resistance bands, you want to start with a light to medium resistance band and focus on compound movements, which are exercises that use multiple joints and muscle groups at the same time. A seated row where you wrap the band around your feet and pull toward your torso works your back, shoulders, and arms simultaneously. A standing chest press where you anchor the band behind you and push forward targets your chest and triceps. Squats with the band looped under your feet and held at shoulder height add resistance to the most important functional movement pattern you use every day, which is getting up from a seated position. Perform 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions for each exercise and train with bands at least 3 times per week on non-consecutive days to allow for muscle recovery. The speed of each repetition matters enormously. Take 2 seconds to stretch the band and 3 seconds to return to the starting position. This slow, controlled tempo has been shown to increase muscle activation by up to 40% compared to fast, jerky movements. One thing many people do not realize is that the muscle-building stimulus actually happens during the return phase, when you are slowly letting the band come back. If you just let it snap back, you are losing half the benefit. Control is everything with bands, and that controlled movement also trains the stabilizer muscles around your joints, which protect you from injury during everyday activities like carrying groceries or reaching for something on a high shelf. Now, there is another type of movement that targets something bands and water cannot fully address. Before we keep going, make sure to hit like and subscribe. What's coming up next is too important to miss. 3. Tai Chi. You may have seen groups of people in parks moving slowly and gracefully through a series of flowing postures and wondered what exactly they were doing and whether it could possibly count as exercise. That slow and graceful movement is Tai Chi, and the research on its benefits for adults over 60 is so strong that it has caught the attention of major medical institutions around the world. A landmark 2012 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the most respected medical journals on the planet, found that Tai Chi reduced falls in older adults by 43% compared to standard stretching programs. Falls are not a minor inconvenience after 60. They are the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in an emergency room for a fall-related injury. Tai Chi directly attacks this problem by training the 3 systems your body uses for balance simultaneously, which are your visual system, your vestibular system in your inner ear, and your proprioceptive system, which tells your brain where your body is in space. What makes Tai Chi different from other exercises is that it requires constant weight shifting from one leg to the other while maintaining precise body alignment and deep rhythmic breathing. This combination forces your brain and body to communicate in ways that walking on a flat surface never demands. A 2020 study from the University of British Columbia scanned the brains of adults over 60 who practiced Tai Chi for 24 weeks and found measurable increases in the volume of the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and spatial navigation. The Tai Chi group showed a 4% increase in hippocampal volume, while the control group that only did stretching showed a 2% decrease over the same period. That means Tai Chi was not just slowing brain shrinkage, but was actually reversing it. Dr. Peter Wayne, a Harvard Medical School researcher and one of the leading experts on Tai Chi, has described it as meditation in motion and has published extensive research showing that regular Tai Chi practice reduces cortisol levels by up to 15%, lowers inflammation markers in the blood, and improves immune function in older adults. These are benefits that walking simply does not provide to the same degree. To start practicing Tai Chi effectively, you do not need any equipment or special clothing. You need a flat surface and enough space to take a few steps in any direction. Begin with the most fundamental Tai Chi exercise, which is simply standing with your feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, arms relaxed at your sides, and focusing on breathing deeply into your belly for 5 minutes. This standing meditation teaches you the foundational posture that every other movement builds from. From there, learn the basic weight shifting exercise where you slowly transfer your weight from one foot to the other while keeping your upper body completely still and centered. When you feel comfortable with that, you can begin learning simple forms, which are choreographed sequences of movements that flow together like a slow dance. Most community centers and senior centers offer beginner Tai Chi classes, and there are excellent instructional programs available. The ideal practice schedule is 20 to 30 minutes at least 3 times per week, although even 10 minutes daily has been shown to produce meaningful improvements in balance and coordination. A 2018 study in the British Medical Journal found that adults over 70 who practiced Tai Chi for just 15 minutes a day for 6 months reduced their rate of harmful falls by 31% and reported feeling significantly more confident in their ability to move safely through daily life. That confidence matters because fear of falling often causes older adults to restrict their movement, which leads to even more muscle loss and balance decline in a vicious cycle that Tai Chi helps to break completely. But there is still a movement that goes even deeper into protecting your body from the inside. 2. Chair-based strength training. Do not let the word chair fool you into thinking this is somehow less effective than standing exercises. Chair-based strength training has become one of the most heavily researched and recommended exercise modalities for adults over 60, and the results from clinical studies are nothing short of extraordinary. A 2021 study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society took 156 adults aged 65 to 89, many of whom had mobility limitations or chronic joint conditions, and put them through a 10-week chair-based strength training program. By the end of the study, participants had increased their leg strength by an average of 33%, improved their ability to rise from a seated position by 28%, and increased their walking speed by 14%. Walking speed in older adults is so strongly linked to longevity that researchers often call it the sixth vital sign. Every 0.1 meter per second increase in walking speed has been associated with a 12% reduction in mortality risk. So, a chair-based program that improves walking speed by 14% is not just making you faster. It is statistically extending your life. The reason chair-based strength training works so well is that the chair provides a stable base of support that allows you to focus entirely on the working muscles without worrying about balance or falling. This means you can push harder, do more repetitions, and achieve greater muscle fatigue, which is the stimulus your body needs to build new muscle tissue. For adults who have arthritis, joint replacements, neuropathy, or any condition that makes standing exercise uncomfortable or risky, the chair removes the barrier completely. Dr. Miriam Nelson, a Tufts University researcher who authored the groundbreaking book Strong Women Stay Young, has spent decades demonstrating that strength training is the single most important type of exercise for counteracting age-related muscle loss, a condition called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia affects up to 30% of adults over 60 and up to 50% of adults over 80. It leads to weakness, increased fall risk, loss of independence, and higher mortality. The only proven treatment is progressive resistance training, and doing it from a chair makes it accessible to virtually everyone regardless of their current fitness level or physical limitations. To get the most out of chair-based strength training, you need a sturdy chair without wheels, preferably with a firm seat and a straight back. Start with the seated leg extension, where you sit tall and slowly straighten one leg out in front of you, hold it for 2 seconds, then lower it back down with control over 3 seconds. This single exercise targets the quadriceps, which are the large muscles on the front of your thigh that are responsible for standing up, climbing stairs, and preventing falls. Next, try the seated march, lifting your knees one at a time toward your chest in a slow, deliberate marching motion. This works your hip flexors and your core muscles simultaneously. For upper body, the seated overhead press using light dumbbells or even water bottles builds shoulder strength that you need for reaching overhead and lifting objects safely. Aim for 3 sets of 12 repetitions for each exercise and perform these workouts 3 to 4 times per week. A 2019 study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology found that older adults who did chair-based resistance training for 12 weeks showed a 19% increase in muscle protein synthesis rates, which is the process by which your body actually builds new muscle tissue. The participants also showed reduced levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, including C-reactive protein, which dropped by an average of 22%. Chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of aging and age-related disease. So an exercise that simultaneously builds muscle and reduces inflammation is delivering a powerful double benefit that walking alone has never been shown to match. And now we come to the single most important movement on this entire list. 1. Single leg balance training. This is the exercise that Harvard Medical School researchers called the single most underrated movement for healthy aging, and the data behind it is so compelling that it has changed how geriatric specialists around the world approach fall prevention and longevity. A 2022 study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed 1,702 adults aged 51 to 75 over a period of 7 years and found that those who could not stand on one leg for 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of death from any cause compared to those who could. Read that number again. Not 8%, not 18%, an 84% higher risk of dying. The ability to balance on one leg turned out to be one of the most powerful predictors of survival that researchers had ever identified in this age group, even after controlling for age, weight, chronic diseases, and other health conditions. This simple test essentially reveals how well your neuromuscular system, your brain, your inner ear, and your musculoskeletal framework are all communicating with each other, and that communication is the foundation of everything your body does. Single-leg balance training is not just a test, though. It is a trainable skill that improves rapidly with consistent practice. A 2020 study from the University of Pittsburgh took 64 adults over the age of 65 who could not initially hold a single leg stance for more than 5 seconds and put them through a progressive balance training program focused primarily on single leg standing. After just 8 weeks of daily practice, the average single leg hold time increased from 4.7 seconds to 28.3 seconds. That is a 502% improvement. More importantly, the participants showed a 38% reduction in postural sway, which is the involuntary wobbling that happens when you stand still. Postural sway is directly correlated with fall risk, and reducing it by that much translates to real-world safety in situations like stepping off a curb, turning around quickly when someone calls your name, or navigating an uneven sidewalk. Dr. Janice Ng, a rehabilitation scientist at the University of British Columbia, published research showing that single-leg balance training activates the cerebellum and the motor cortex in ways that multi-leg stance exercises do not, essentially forcing the brain to create new neural pathways for stability and coordination. To begin single-leg balance training safely and effectively, start by standing next to a kitchen counter or the back of a sturdy chair. Place your fingertips lightly on the surface for support. Shift your weight onto your right leg and slowly lift your left foot just 2 to 3 inches off the ground. Hold this position for as long as you can, aiming for 10 seconds initially. Then switch legs and repeat. Do this 3 times on each leg and practice every single day without exception. The daily frequency is important because balance is a neural skill, and your brain needs consistent repetition to strengthen the pathways that control it. As your balance improves over the first 2 to 3 weeks, begin reducing the amount of finger contact you have with the support surface. Go from full hand to fingertips, then to one finger, then to hovering your hand just above the surface. Eventually, you will be standing freely on one leg without any support at all. Once you can hold for 30 seconds on each leg, progress to doing it with your eyes closed, which removes visual input and forces your proprioceptive and vestibular systems to work even harder. A 2018 study in the journal Gait and Posture found that older adults who practiced single-leg balance with eyes closed for 6 weeks showed a 41% improvement in dynamic balance, which is your ability to maintain stability while moving, the kind of balance you actually need in daily life. You can also progress by standing on a folded towel or a balance pad, which creates an unstable surface and further challenges the small stabilizer muscles in your ankles, knees, and hips. The total time commitment is minimal, about 5 to 10 minutes per day, but the impact on your longevity, independence, and quality of life is enormous based on every major study conducted in the past decade. There you have it. 5 exercises that science has proven are more effective than walking alone for adults over 60. From the joint-protecting power of water-based resistance to the life-extending simplicity of standing on one leg, each of these movements targets something specific that walking cannot reach. You do not need to do all 5 every day. Pick 2 or 3 that fit your current ability and start there. The research is clear that consistency matters far more than intensity. Showing up 3 to 4 times a week and doing these movements with intention will change your body, protect your brain, and add quality years to your life. If this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss another video like this one. Thank you so much for watching.